Welcome to Between the Details, the podcast where event planning gets real. I'm Jessica Ralph, owner of Parties a la Carte.
And I'm Aaron Lockwood, owner of Lockwood Studios. Each week, we'll be sharing insider tips, honest advice, and behind-the-scenes truth for both vendors and clients.
Well, welcome to today's episode. Today, we are talking about catering in the luxury space, and I think catering just in general. So it's about being more than just a plate. So we'd like to welcome our guest, Ryan, today from SaltBlock Catering.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
Appreciate you coming in today. I know we were talking a little bit off camera, and you said you were actually born and raised in Florida.
One of the few.
North Tampa.
Hey, I was too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
Let's
stay a little
here.
strong here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredible. You don't come across very many native born Floridians.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's amazing.
Especially
That's why we're so brown.
Yeah, exactly.
You can hold up to the summers, survive the summers here.
They're getting hotter. I will say that.
Oh,
but yeah, born and raised here in Tampa. And I'd say I'm extremely lucky to have seen the progression over we've been in the industry for 12 years, but, I've lived in Tampa for 35 years, my entire life. And it's been such an amazing opportunity to see a city develop the way Tampa's developed. I don't think there's any other time, if you look at Tampa over the last even 20 years, even 10 years, I don't know that you have that opportunity nationally anywhere else to see the infrastructure in the base that we've had and just see it explode over those last, over the last decade, let's say.
And to see the culinary scene just take off it has too. So that's one of the things that my wife and I love doing is food photography. And so many new restaurants and luxury hotels, and they're just elevating that experience. I think it's an exciting time for Tampa Bay.
Agreed.
For sure.
Wholeheartedly agreed.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about how you got into catering and how SaltBlock came to be?
Hospitality was the one job I've ever quit and walked out of. It was 2010. It was 2010. I remember walking out of a restaurant job. I took off my apron. I was in college, put it in the basket. I looked at my manager, and I remember the words. I said, I'll never work in hospitality again. And I walked out. And, clearly life had other plans. How it developed after that. So my business partner now, one of them, Scott, childhood best friend, also grew up in Tampa, born and raised. We were born and raised in Land O'Lakes. It's 25 minutes north of Tampa, really small town, especially at the time. But we both were at the University of Central Florida and graduated with a finance degree and were pursuing a finance career path. Now, during that time, we were attending a lot of events, as you do in that industry, networking events, nonprofit events.
Yes,
full
nonstop.
All the time.
Yeah.
And, personally, I'm Persian and Italian. Food is at the core of both the cultures that my entire family grew up with and has had for many, many years, right? And the scene in Tampa, we were just kind of talking about it, started progressing. The restaurant scene started picking up. We're talking chef-driven concepts were really starting to pop up in different areas. And we were noticing that the catering industry at all these events that we were attending was kind of falling short and not keeping up with that progression. Again, that's 12, 13 years ago. And we really saw that as an opportunity. Hospitality, just to give a little bit more of a backstory, my dad worked in hospitality for 47 years. It's kind of something you love. Fast forward to today. Our entire families, both my business partners, Giovanni, we added a third partner over the time frame of being in business. He's my brother-in-law.
Wow.
My sisters work with us. Scott's family works with us. When we're very busy, we need to call in. We'll call in my mom, one of the best chefs I know. My mom and my dad, they'll come in and they'll help us execute. I say that to say we love it, and that's at the core of who we are. So we saw this opportunity. We had this history in loving hospitality and that gratification of serving clients in that event high that you get from executing. And we said, hey, why don't we treat the catering industry like the progression of the restaurant industry? Why can't you have restaurant quality food that is scratch made, that is delivered in a way at the time that was elemental to food? We'd go to events and there'd be all these decor everywhere, and there was no focus on the food. Yeah. And it was like, it just seemed like such a disconnect. Sure. So at the time we saw that as a major opportunity, and we put our blood, sweat, and tears and families into it. And, you know, as a family unit, we celebrate wins, we celebrate challenges together. And our goal is that culture is exuded through our team, and it's at the core of what we do. So how we got into it was kind of like an evolution of things going right, some things going wrong. But ultimately, I think if you're in the hospitality industry and event industry and as a whole, you love it. And like you were destined for it.
You hate it, but you love it.
Exactly.
You hate it, love it at the same time. Yes.
Yeah. Well said.
Yes.
So I know that's like a long answer, and there's many small stories in between, but we had a passion for food, had a passion for creating a hospitality experience off-site in a catering environment, and we had an opportunity. Tampa was ripe and waiting for it, and the market was really receptive to it. So that's the starting story.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think like you have the same kind of characteristics like we've been talking about kind of like in this luxury industry. And it's like, if your heart and your soul is not in it, but that's what elevates it. And so that's what you've kind of brought to the catering side of things. So
100%. If you don't love it, you'll fall behind, especially very quickly, especially in today's world.
Absolutely.
You have to stay ahead of the game, because the things that made you successful yesterday aren't going to define your success in the future, right? It's all about understanding what your clients want. Like when we started, people just wanted the scratch-made, chef-driven food presented in an elemental way. Fast forward to today, that's like a base of what people want. So if we just focused on that, we would fall behind in a major way.
Yeah.
So you got to be passionate about it, because the industry will surpass you.
Yeah. And especially we were talking about just how the culinary scene is just becoming so much elevated in Tampa Bay. And so it's not just like the ingredients, but it's also the presentation and, you know, the uniqueness of like the different ingredients put together and those type of things. So when you can bring that into the event space, it's just an incredible experience. So
there is more and more information out there every day, and we all see it, on knowing what's in your food and a pursuit of knowing more and demanding more as a consumer.
Demanding better.
Demanding better, right? Yeah. And it's so silly, because at a base level, like, why should we have to do that? Why, when I go to the store, can I not just buy something off the shelf and trust that it's going to be good, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not our reality. And we demand that in our personal lives. And for us, it's this connection of like, well, why is there something you do in your personal life that you don't want to do in your professional life? And then also as a consumer, why are you not demanding that from the person you're purchasing food from, right? So there's this constant pursuit of not only being chef driven, but what's on that plate?
Where are you sourcing?
Where are you sourcing from? What are the ingredients? What are you frying in?
Yeah.
So many of those things tie the quality of the food together. It's not just one element of making it look good or taste good anymore. It's knowing what's behind the plate.
For sure.
What does SaltBlock do differently? So can you explain how your food is better than your typical caterer? What are your cooking methods? What do you avoid?
For sure. So there's like a category that like, to differentiate us, I'll just put that category somewhere else. There's like ordering from big box distributors, regarnishing and heating up food, and putting food out on a buffet or serving guests.
A lot of it's already pre-cooked.
Pre-cooked, pre-made. You add some microgreens and some olive oil and you call it your own, right? Let's just put that in a separate category and talk about the elevated catering space, right?
Right.
So what differentiates us at a base level between the two markets is being scratch made and chef driven. We've had the same executive chef for almost 10 years. We have a pastry program in-house. We're dry aging our steaks in-house. We're breaking down whole ingredients, and at a very simple level, we are breaking down whole ingredients and we are serving them to you in a made in-house scratch made way. Wow. Right? That's a base though. Now, what else is composed in the sourcing, right? And what else differentiates us? We, to my knowledge, and I could be proven wrong, I know how social media and stuff works. If anyone in the comments, right. If your business is on it, I'm sorry. To my knowledge,
we'll chat GPT check you on it.
Yeah, like don't fact check me here. To my humble knowledge, and I encourage others to do it. We are one of the only catering company in Tampa on seed oil Scout, meaning we have no inflammatory seed oils in our portfolio of sourcing. I'm extremely proud of that differentiating factor because that is at a personal level something that all of us, all partners and across the organization are really passionate about. So there's that. We have our own farm. Huge.
That's probably also very unique.
Yes.
I think you could put that on the same thing of the only one. And I don't know of any other catering companies that would have their own farms. So.
We're very proud of that. And that is an ever evolving segment of our business. And I'm happy to expand on that to some fun things we're doing around the farm. But we do have a farm that grows all our edible flowers, all of our microgreens and seasonal produce. That was new to us about 3 years ago. So we are continuing to develop what we can grow. Farming's fascinating. It's like this whole other segment of business and life that we're learning, and we're really passionate and excited about. So that's a differentiating factor. And I think the last element of it is like, how are you putting that together and serving it to your guests on site? There is this demand now that defines elevated catering. It's not just what's on the plate, but how are your guests experiencing that product?
I think it's everything. I think guest experience is literally my job anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, how are these guests walking in? What are they experiencing? What are they smelling? How does the food look? How is it displayed? When are they getting food? Can they have food here, 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 here? I mean, abundance, experience. I think all of those are what's really driving all events across the spectrum, whether you're corporate, social, wedding, it doesn't matter.
You think about the question of what goes on behind the scenes in our industry to make that work. I mean, Jessica, you know it. Months and months before people even walk in. They just walk in and go, wow,
right.
This is a wonderful experience. But they don't realize that, that napkin matches that, and all these things tie together because every single I mean, short of you coming to the warehouse and picking exact assets to go to coincide because that's needed,
right?
Yeah.
Right? It's about that.
We send a lot of pictures to each other.
Yes.
We send a lot of colors and textures. Yes. I'm literally sending him. I probably text him more or DM him more than I do most. I'm like, here, we need to do this. Here, we need to do this. Here, we need to do this. Can we do this?
Yeah. And that's another, I guess, differentiating factor beyond the plate, right? It is to do that goes beyond the plate in today's world. I never thought we would be having it. We have an in-house fabrication team now that's like making boards and individualizing and personalizing. Like we served, because someone saw it on Instagram and because you have to be able to be adaptable, we served pretzels on like an umbrella with this whole thing last weekend, and we had to make the umbrellas in-house because you can't buy pretzel umbrellas anywhere.
No.
And like,
you can't just go to Walmart and buy a pretzel umbrella.
No, I tried online, searched, did everything. But no, I think that's one of the new differentiating factors, that we have all these sourcing philosophies behind our plate, and that defined us when we first started. being elemental, like I remember saying that, like, you're not going to see a lot of decor on our stations. You're going to see good food, and that's it.
Yeah, I vetoed that.
Yes, yes.
I was like, we're going to have both.
We're going to have,
He's going to incorporate it into the...
Yes. I was like, I
100%.
want none of what you're bringing. I'm literally bringing all of this stuff.
Yep.
So, but it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then sometimes I steal your stuff.
Yeah, hey, part of it, part of the business. But that was like the next connection point of the evolving industry was, okay, it is beyond the plate. It's about creating this entire cohesive experience around an event. And it actually is a lot more work ahead of time for all vendors. I mean,
except for photography.
Well, yeah, I get just to show up and enjoy the beauty of it.
And take a nibble as you walk by.
and the photos look that much better because it's all curated.
Find out where the kitchen is, where they're coming out from. You gotta head back in there.
I would say, like, we just did an event with you a few weeks ago. It was a surprise birthday party.
Yep.
And we had you come. I would say a good chunk of our food was strolling. It was immersive.
Yes.
Like we had strolling tacos. I don't remember everything. It's a blurb. That's 5 events ago. But but we had so much immersive food and it was very interesting. Like, I didn't have to have this huge table and this, I could have this cool taco thing strolling around and it gets to everybody. So no one misses that there was these, gourmet tacos.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think having an immersive experience is also going into not just entertainment anymore, but also into the food, into the drink realm. Your mixologists are some of the best that I've, worked with. Yeah. All of those things are forming an experience and leaving your guests feeling away when they leave. And you're developing that from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I want to rewind just to one thing because I'm really curious about the farm part of it. And you said you had some other things to announce, but like, how did that evolve? Like, what was the beginning part of that?
What did you want? Did you want to buy a tractor?
I mean,
we really wanted a tractor. No, actually, if you really want to go to the base of why we started SaltBlock Farms, so if you remember, we had Boat Run Oyster Company before the pandemic.
Yes.
One of the things, obviously, we have a pursuit for really high quality ingredients. At that time, we had a raw bar at Sparkman Wharf, and we were doing some other things underneath that brand of Boat Run Oyster Company. And one other major passion that I could talk about for hours on is sustainability, especially in the marine world and ecosystem. However, we were farming, we had 4 acres of aquaculture and we were farming oysters in Cedar Key, Florida. Wow. And that was one of the most laborious things I've ever done in my life, but it was rewarding.
Sure.
And it was a learning experience. We enjoyed it. We went from seed to harvest, sold them out of our raw bar. It was a really cool experience. And right when we kind of got our feet under us, the pandemic hit. And, restaurants stopped buying oysters, couldn't go out. We all know that. Don't need to waste anyone's time talking about the pandemic.
You didn't go delivering them door to door?
No, didn't do that. We did meal delivery
services. There was a lot of people
boating
during that time. You could have had the raw oyster
people
bar
go around.
boating out and
missed opportunity.
Hopefully there's not a next time.
Let's not go back and rewind on
that. So we ended up closing down that farming operation, and we had this idea of like, okay, well, how do we take that effort and apply it to our core business? The oysters were great. It applied to the Boat Run Oyster Company business, but we had folded that during the pandemic, closed down the raw bar and all of that. And we said, okay, well, number one, we're a catering company and we do sell a lot of oysters, but why don't we try to fill these categories that we have such a challenge sourcing, that we can bring a higher quality and a more unique product to the plate? So some SKUs that we fulfilled very quickly were microgreens, edible flowers. We started growing, different head lettuces, tomatoes, squashes, different like zucchinis and beets. And in farming, one thing I didn't understand was how long it takes to get like your soil composition right. And a little bit different than farming oysters. You just got to make sure that the ocean doesn't pull them away.
Right. Yeah.
And they kind of just do their own thing.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we've learned a lot over the past 2.5 years. And we've been able to fill a lot of categories for SaltBlock, but in a pursuit to continue to develop that, we've made a relationship recently with Meacham Urban Farms. I know a lot of people listening, if you have not been there, go. It's in downtown Tampa. All organically minded sourcing that they have. It's local in downtown Tampa.
So do they do like a farmer's market kind of thing that you?
They're open. It's actually a working farm, and they have a produce store.
Oh, wow.
Open Thursday through Monday. I don't know their exact hours, or I'd give them a shout out, but they're amazing. They source from all different local farms as well as their own farm that's located right in the heart of downtown Tampa. We created a partnership with Joe, the farmer there, which many may know. Farmer Joe. We just expanded our farm to another 1.5 2 acre parcel, and we're really going to ramp up production now that we kind of have the base there, and our product will be available at Meacham Farm as well, so you'll be able to get our product.
What are you still going in the same like seasonal vegetables, things like that?
Yeah, we're gonna fill some major categories like our potatoes, our onions. There are like some bases that we order all the time that we can just ramp up a high level of production, and then the unique SKUs that are to SaltBlock. So you say like, why the farm? We're able to grow things that we otherwise couldn't source at the price point. We're able to offer them to guests. So there's a lot of benefit there. We're able to offer them a product that we can stand behind. We have organic farming practices across our farm. We are able to bring that product to the consumer in a timeline that you can otherwise not source in the retail or wholesale market. So we're very proud and excited about that. And we, of course, grow like flowers unique to our dishes, microgreens unique to each plate that have different flavor profiles and are nutrient dense. And all
That's really
things.
incredible. I don't think a lot of people realize how much agriculture there actually is in Florida.
No.
Like,
or in Tampa.
Yeah, and just like on the outskirts of Tampa, but like, you know, you don't have to go far, and all of a sudden you're like in farmland, and like
Plant City.
Plant City, go out to Plant City.
You know, I was doing a bunch of work down in Lakewood Ranch when they started developing that property, and like you start driving down south and east, and it's like, wow, it's a whole another world down there with the agriculture and the cattle and just everything that we have. So
yeah, Florida, really cool. Florida's got. It's funny, like all of our there is so much agriculture on the farming side to the livestock to plants down in South Florida.
Yeah.
It's so much of our entire state's footprint. But
we're just used to these like concentrations of population in these areas, and a lot of people don't branch out from that. So that's really incredible. Yeah, I think one of the things, you know, you could love or hate social media, but I think one of the things that is incredible about it is just the education that it provides, because I see so much, like even just in the last 5 years, about people learning about their food and about the seed oils and just other things that they had no clue. They're just like, oh, they sell it at the store, and like it says olive oil or it says this or like whatever, and just people don't know.
But there's people like the Food Babe who really have started to highlight you know, what's in stuff, and that it's not true, and that this company bought this company and changed what you thought you were having. You know, like I have a severe garlic allergy. You'll be amazed at what you think doesn't have garlic in it, and it does. The labels are just not accurate. So it's very interesting to see how much education you can find online about the true things that are in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
We went through with my wife, and she wasn't born with food allergies, but just after having kids, she's like gluten-free, dairy-free. Like she gets really sick if she gets anything. So that was a whole education process for us, just learning like what all the additives are that they add and all this stuff. And it's like, it's crazy.
Your eyes.
And when you even see products that like used to be made with such simple ingredients, and now they have like this whole list of stuff that you have to like look up to see what it even is.
People
it's
say
like,
it all the time, like, oh, I grew up eating that. Well, like there's a certain French fry company, and it used to just be very like simple. It was potatoes, a simple oil, and salt. And now it's got 30 ingredients. You know, just in a French fry.
It's social media, I'll say that's like one of the major benefits because I'm trying to I'm sure a lot of people are, especially in like our generation, trying to explain that to my parents, right, where they're not watching the reels and they don't have reliancy on it every day. Yeah. So like you have to inform them, then they hit you with well, you ate that growing up, and then you have to say, well, hey guys, it's not the same.
What are the long-term effects of that?
100%.
When a client or a couple is planning their event, what are some ways that you as a company, try to have all of your guests have, a full meal? I think a lot of times when you have an allergy, you're not getting, a protein. You're not getting something that has feels, substantive.
Yeah, like with my wife, a lot of times they'll just be like, "Oh, you could have the fruit or some salad." Like, "Oh, don't take the dressing though. That has whatever."
Yes, because
you
everybody
have a bowl
wants
of lettuce and some fruit. Lettuce. Yay! There's your meal. Like,
there's a couple levels to that. The first one is right on our menu. We list a couple things from the composition of our menu. You aren't going to have major allergens in a lot of our mainstay menu items.
Like gluten.
Okay. Chef stays away from that. Peanuts, for instance. You're not going to see that on our menu. No. And they're listed. Everything has dietary restrictions listed right next to the menu item. Because we're scratch made, if we can say it's a host who they want to make everything
garlic free,
or as long as you're not, we are able to accommodate that, right? So that's the front end. Then step 2 is, okay, well, if they are choosing something to feed everyone and it has those allergens in it, what are you doing as a company to serve them not fruit and some lettuce with no dressing, right? Like, my goodness, my grandma would be rolling over in her grave. So the next piece there really comes into one of the most important things that I can stress that is important for a catering company to be successful, and it is accurate information. If we know ahead of time, we can make them the most beautiful dish that is made intentionally for them. It gets harder when we don't know those things.
But that's why you need a wedding planner or an event planner.
100%. That is
I'm always picturing myself.
Yes, that is
always.
Proof in the pudding right there.
You don't have to give it 100%. I agree from every aspect of what we do.
I think people don't think about it from the front end, and they wait till they get there, and you have to be thinking about that on the front end. Like, okay, I might have several guests that are going to be vegan or vegetarian or gluten-free, and you need to be thinking with that so that you're getting something for them that feels the same as everybody else around them. You don't want that guest feeling less than.
And I can tell you how special that makes somebody feel.
Yes.
That usually just has to settle for whatever they can throw together at a restaurant, fruit, whatever.
I'll just pick around this or whatever.
But when it's an experience like that.
But I think that goes 2 ways. I think also the guests have to make sure that they're informing the host that they have this allergy
100%.
Or this dietary restriction. I think a lot of people just show up and assume that they're going to be able to kind of just wiggle their way into something. And when you're bringing the catering on site or you're at a hotel, there is not always the time or resources to be able to get them something that makes them feel equal to the people around them.
A lot of times even the kitchen is not necessarily set up to accommodate if it's a more severe allergy too.
Right, because there's cross-contamination.
Exactly.
And all those issues if so.
And our chefs want it's like any artist. You want your people.
You're Italian. You want your hosting.
Yeah, you're hosting. Everyone is so passionate. That's what makes our team who they are. They want everyone to be served a delicious meal. That's the gratification point in service. It's not just putting plates out and making sure everyone has some meal in front of them. It's that everyone has a delicious meal and it's memorable and it's thoughtful and it's intentional. And they walk away going, man, I was a guest at this event. I didn't just attend something. I was a guest here.
Yeah.
And if we know ahead of time, which is there's a million reasons why you should have a planner, but let's just say that's one of them that we can talk about on this podcast. Knowing ahead of time means we can be that much more successful. We put a buffer in just always. By nature. We always put a buffer in that way. And those are for mainstay allergies. If someone hits us with something last minute, we're going to do our best to accommodate. I can tell you, we've been told things last minute. If I'm at Armature Works, I'll run to Steelbach. Like I'll do everything I can to give them that experience. Yeah. But it does become challenging, especially the more complex the dietary restriction.
Yeah. I think that just showcases your true hospitality.
Yes.
Because it's like if you're almost like
I've seen him do crazy things.
It's like you're inviting somebody over to your house for dinner. It's like that same mentality. Like why wouldn't you want them to be able to enjoy that level of hospitality instead of them leaving feeling like, okay, where can we stop on the way home and get something to eat?
Oh my gosh.
All right. We have reached my favorite part.
Ooh.
Okay, which is the vendor confession.
Oh.
So why don't you tell us what you would like to get off your chest and tell the people and the listeners in between the details what it is you want them to understand and know when they leave this podcast today?
You know what's funny? I didn't know. I thought it was going to be something else, my vendor confessional. And then talking, I remembered one that I just wish more people trusted us. And a lot of them apply to nonprofit and corporate events, but it can also apply to weddings as well.
Totally.
Especially in the non-hotel environment. Remember, I'm offsite catering. I'm not a hotel.
Yes. You're at private venues, private homes.
Exactly.
For the most part.
For the most part.
Empty fields.
Empty fields, wherever you need us. Especially for nonprofit and corporate events where you don't know every single seat coming weeks in advance. Guest choice day of never works. If you're hosting a corporate event,
if you're hosting any event.
Can I just say that? If you're hosting any event, guest choice just doesn't work. Like, let me just give the quickest, and I'll be as short as I can, to give everyone an example of what they ask us to do as a catering company. If you go to a restaurant that you enjoy, and it's a 60-seat restaurant, then on a busy night, they might look to get 3 covers done on each one of those seats. That's 180 guests that they'll serve over a 6 hours to 7 hour service period. If people stay late for drinks, maybe an 8-hour service, right? For a long shift. People ask us to serve that amount of food at a changing location on a non-set menu with at variable locations, with timelines that change, variable power, all those things. And hey, we want to serve everyone in 10 to 12 minutes, or no longer than 15 or 600 people, you know? So when you just add some of the unnecessary complexities that don't allow us to just focus on beautiful, delicious food in front of your guests, we can do it. It's just such an unnecessary layer of complexity. So stop doing it. It doesn't make sense. No more guest choice.
So a good alternative, what I love seeing is when there's like a medley on the plate.
A nice duo plated meal.
I'm so pro duo.
Yes.
So pro duo. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it.
Yes.
I know people think it's wasteful, but I feel like couples usually work it out. Most
Trust
of it
me,
gets
if she's not going to eat it, she can put it on my plate and I'll eat it.
My leftovers. That's not saying much. I'm literally like, here.
Well, there's somebody there that way.
Listen, the other day we were at an event and I literally was like, here, give me your plate. That's
she's
smaller
like, that's
portion.
A bigger piece of
so
piece
you
of
can
chicken.
have my plate. I'll take the smaller portion because I knew he was going to be hungry and that wasn't going to be enough.
And
but I agree with you.
And it's, as an organizer, you also have a whole layer of stress that you don't have to deal with. As a planner, it's a whole level of information you don't have to get from your team and then translate or from your client.
There's so many creative ways that you can avoid that, whether it's doing a duo, whether it's doing some stations. I really love what we've been doing a lot of, which is the small plates.
Yes.
I'm a huge proponent of, I call it like a tapas style event. So you're getting a real meal. Like you're getting a short rib or you're getting, a filet strips or tenderloin or whatever it is with some potatoes, with some greens, but it's in basically a B&B plate.
Yes.
Right? Bread and butter plate. So you're getting that and you can come up there 2 or 3 times and whatever silverware you need is at that station and it just keeps the party going.
Yes.
People don't feel bogged down from this dinner of sitting an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's tons of options. There's tons of pasta.
And especially if you're socializing, it's so much easier to grab a quick bite and then you don't feel like you're missing
like a
out
mix
on,
anyways.
100%.
I like a mix. Like I don't want to eat just one thing. I want to eat 5 different things. That's why I make my family order all the things so that I can have a little bit of this,
100%.
a little bit of that. So it really does kind of give you a creative way of doing it. Avoid needing to know all of those things and just kind of make it.
Food quality as well.
Yes.
You can have consistently delicious food quality that's getting plated a la minute right at that station.
Yeah.
We call them our chef tasting stations. We love them. They could choose off our mainstay menu. Chef will make unique twists to our mainstay menu to tell your story. Yeah. And we'll have chefs there plating up a small plate that's gorgeous, delicious, hot. And to your point, you can keep the party going. You don't need the formality of sitting there pulling the salad plate, waiting to clear the room, and then serving your dinner.
It also saves a lot of money from a decor perspective because now you don't need these chargers. You don't need all of this stuff. You're doing a lot of highs and lows, and it just helps it work out. So it actually, we feel, is a little bit of a cost savings because you're saving thousands, and I mean thousands of dollars by not having chargers and flatware and all of that stuff. So it's a good cost savings.
It's also cost saving on service staff. You know how many chefs and servers it takes to execute that amount of food in that amount of time? Especially you add in the runners because a lot of venue spaces, the kitchen is not in close proximity to the service areas, so you need to have runners running that food.
And even staffing, that's a whole nother conversation. That's become a challenge for so many companies
I
too.
think it's apparent that we have to have Ryan come back. This
for
is
sure.
a great
So does that
episode.
mean if you're asked to do choice, you're saying no?
No, he'll do it. Don't let him
Is
fool
Jessica
you.
asking me if it's someone we haven't worked with? If it's someone, I will say, if it's someone we haven't worked with and you don't have a planner that we trust, we will
push back.
We will push back aggressively.
I think you should just say no.
But
our chef would love that. Our whole team would love that when they're listening.
A good planner will get it to switch.
Just have them call Jessica and she can say no for you.
Well, I just did it for a hotel in Tampa. The client really wanted them to go and do alternating dishes. And I was like, this is going to be a disaster. This team is not equipped to do this for this. I was like 800 plus people. Wow. I was like, you don't have their dietary restrictions. Like we can't do it. And we were able to get there and the client realized and trusted us. And it ended up being a flawless service event. Yeah. And it was great, but you have to be a team.
You do. And if you're going to do it, you're not going to do it in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Give us a 35 minutes because you got to go around, double confirm. Right. It's a whole different beast. And generally people don't events are 3 to 5 hours.
Unless the dinner is the event.
Exactly. Unless the dinner is the event.
Yeah. But then you have to have a lot of courses.
Yes.
A lot of wine.
A lot of wine, a lot of course. Yeah, courses. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Of
course.
Really
such a pleasure to get. I know you so well, but it's always nice to hear the backstories and to really understand, you're coming from the roots up and doing all that. So I love that. So thank you for being here.
This is part one because I think
part
there's
one.
a lot more to dig into.
Food is just such a topic.
It is.
It makes or breaks the event.
And you're very behind the scenes. So this is great to have you sharing what you do and
appreciate that. Yeah. Hospitality, you want to be present but not seen. So I'm always at one of us owners or managers are always at events. We'll be in a black suit in the corner, but hopefully
not unless I make you wear something different.
Exactly, unless we're curated to match the event. Exactly.
Which I do to him all the time. I'm like, no, I need these aprons, these shirts, these pants.
I feel like I'm texting my sister too. I'm like, hey, how does my outfit look? Do I look good? Like you did our team, but how do I look for this event?
You look awesome today.
Yes.
So I don't know if your sister
happy, and I know yesterday was your birthday, so that's exciting. So thank you for spending some of your birthday week with us.
My pleasure. It's a tradition for us.
I know. Now, so
you and Corey sharing.
Yeah, I didn't know that our birthdays were back to back.
Two peas in a pod. Who knew?
We might need to do a little duo party one year.
There you go.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I'm not available.
Corey can DJ and you bring the food.
Hey,
we're good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.